Live from the Bob Levy Broadcast Center, overlooking the Toms River, it's time to get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Be a part of the show, 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Hey, welcome back. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin, 6:09, Friday, September 2nd, 63 degrees, getting up to 80 today. WOBM AM 1160, 1310. News Talk Radio, streaming live on the radio, pop app at WOBMAM.com, 732-505-1160. Join the conversation. We're now joined in studio by Russ McIver. We are talking Monmouth Furnace Baseball Club, vintage baseball, really cool stuff. First of all, good morning, Russ. How are you?
Good morning, and I cannot talk as fast as you.
That's okay. That's okay. It's as I tell people all the time, 20 years in sales, and you learn to talk like that, and then you take their credit card. So, Russ, why don't you give us kind of the 30,000-foot view of what we're dealing with today?
That's actually 30 is a good number because there are about 30 vintage baseball teams in the Mid-Atlantic Vintage Baseball League, which stretch from Maine to Virginia, and the Monmouth Furnace is one of them. We are one of, I want to say, about 4 teams in New Jersey. We play competition anywhere from actually, obviously, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Maryland, and, eventually, hopefully, we'll be going a little further. So we play by the rules of 1864. And one of the big differences you would notice if you went to see one of our games is we don't wear gloves.
Ooh.
Another big one is obviously since we play by the rules of 1864, when we get on the field, it is 1864. So we dress like it's 1864.
Right.
We try to use all the appropriate terminologies. For example, after someone does something great, we try not to high five each other because they didn't high five in 1864. But besides that, it's real baseball just by the rules of that time period. So.
Wow. And so you, I guess nobody takes selfies after they hit a home run either, right?
It's discouraged. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, I just want to call out. Is it possible that you guys are 0-2? Is that possible?
We've only won a couple of games.
Okay, but it's not. Yeah. That's not really what it's about. Right?
It's more about the play. This is a developing project.
Right.
This is actually our first complete full season. This is our third season of existence, but this is the first season we've gone whole hog. So.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the website for the Mid-Atlantic Baseball League. It's very, very cool. And even looking at some of the names of the teams, obviously all throwbacks. So how did you get involved in this? This doesn't seem like something that's just kind of like that you were a 17-year-old kid and you're like, you know what, one day I really want to do 1864 baseball.
I literally got, I guess the term for it is I got blindsided by it.
Okay.
I got involved with Allaire Village, and it's a longer story which we can get into if you want. But basically, what happened is I got involved in historic interpretation. I kind of brought my interest of historic baseball to Allaire Village, and they basically introduced me to the Mid-Atlantic Baseball League or Mid-Atlantic Baseball Association, and I took it and ran with it. And since I'm a baseball fan, I'd say I'm probably a baseball aficionado. Have been almost my whole life. It opened up a whole new world to me and introduced me to a whole bunch of cool people and a whole bunch of cool situations. And I brought along a bunch of other people with me, and we're having a blast.
So it's really a way to kind of bridge your love of baseball, right? Which with your love of history,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely,
and kind of meld the two together. And and you try to keep that, you're keeping the historical perspective,
yep.
Right? Is there other history involved when you're doing a league like this? I mean, are you cognizant of what else was happening in the surroundings there? Or, you know what I mean? Like, are you Are you in the period? Or
Well, one of the things that we've gotten involved in is, you have these Civil War reenactments.
Right.
And Civil War reenactments, they want to have more than just the
battle,
battle.
yeah.
So they have other things going on. So what's happened is teams like the Monmouth Furnace often have been playing at some of these Civil War reenactments to give, quite frankly, people other things to see what's going on.
Right.
So when you do that, it's kind of like time travel. You just get immersed in the whole culture of not just, the gunfire in the background, but, all the other stuff, the women walking by in hoop skirts and the food and, all that stuff. So
right. And I assume also by osmosis, you start to learn more and more about the period. And
absolutely. Yeah. It's funny in running the team, and you read about historic baseball and you see what goes on and your interaction with the other teams. The challenges that we have in regarding scheduling, getting in touch with each other, disagreements. Okay, if you go back to the 1850s and you see some of the they did have conventions back then. The conventions, a lot of the discussions are so similar to the ones we have in the real day, because we're dealing with exactly the same issues, because we can only go beyond a certain time period. So it's cool.
Wow, that is pretty cool. So what do you play, right?
Yes.
What position do you play?
Well, I'm the captain, so I can play wherever I want, or if I don't want at all.
Right.
Typically, I find myself either at second base and right field or pitching.
Okay.
I let the more skilled players and younger players play the shortstops in the center field.
Now, do you have a lot of younger? What's the age range?
Our team, which is similar to just about every other team, ranges in age from 16 to 70.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we probably go more on the older side, only because high school kids do high school things, and people that are 20s and 30s, obviously they have family obligations that get in the way, but they are part of our team, and I encourage more and more.
So the age groups are all over the place. And how about like career-wise? First of all, what do you do for a living? Because you don't support yourself through this.
I wish I could, but no. I'm a computer consultant. I have my own company, Connections Unlimited, out of Allenhurst, New Jersey.
Okay. So what does the professional gamut look like there? I mean,
It's well, let's see. Just thinking about my team, I have a retired history professor. I have an insurance agent. I have a web guy. I have somebody that works for the Asbury Park Press. I have a few students. I have a guy who's I guess he works for Point Borough in their municipal works department. I have a guy that works for Merck as a scientist.
Okay.
So it runs but the cool thing is they all, and when I started the team, and this is true of many other teams, I said it's like history first, and then the sports,
right,
and
then the baseball,
put it together,
Right. Very cool. So when we get back, we're going to talk more, because I'd really like to understand kind of some of even the nuance of how the game has changed, right? What that looks like now versus then, and so many other things to talk about. Russ McIver, Monmouth Furnace Baseball Club. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin, back after this. Hey, welcome back. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. We're here with Russ McIver talking Monmouth Furnace Baseball Club, vintage baseball. So tell me a little bit. I think we talked about the fact that there are no gloves, right, which is a little different. Right, that's a little different. Mm-hmm. What else is different? But what kind of, is it still wooden bats, right?
It's still wooden bats, and I brought a sample of the type of bat we used. Okay. So it's kind of the standard dimensions.
Yeah.
But one of the big things you probably notice, and it doesn't translate so much to radio, but it's painted.
Yeah.
And it's painted in our team colors, which are black with black and tan.
Cool.
So, all right.
Black and tan. That's anyway. Go ahead.
That's a good.
Yes, it's a good drinking thing. Yeah, got it.
My favorite.
Yeah.
So, also one of the big things is the ball. This is a ball.
Okay.
That's the 1864 style. It's the lemon peel, which is a a cross stitch instead of the figure 8.
Okay.
Like you're like.
So is that like a ball that you could literally knock the cover off of, like in the natural?
If you played with it enough, I mean, generally the game we use one ball per game, and the game ball is considered a trophy.
Oh, okay.
So they don't last.
Like Little League.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. But wood bats, the old balls, the field dimensions are the same.
Right.
Okay, but they're not 60-90, they're 45-90.
45 feet to the
from the pitcher's mound to the. And that was the rule in 1864.
But nobody was throwing 90-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Well, no one was throwing 90 miles an hour, and they were also pitching underhand.
Ah.
Okay, and that was by rule. It was considered more of a hitter's game. I mean, gradually over the next 20 years, things evolved where the pitcher had more of a role. So there's underhand pitching, but but the pitching is the way we play and the way it works out. Again, you have to remember we're trying to keep ourselves in the air. The ball goes as fast as your catcher can catch it. Now, if you're playing with no glove,
right,
the ball's only going to go so fast.
So you're not doing windmill like.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You cannot bring your hands above your waist, and that's again by.
Oh,
the
gotcha.
That's
okay.
by the. It's all by the rules, which is one of the things that's cool about this is we play by the rules. Okay, so there's no question about what you're able to do, what you're able not to do. If it's in the rule book or if it's not in the rule book and you can get around it, you can do it.
Okay. So one of the things that you were talking about is that people don't realize the role that the Jersey Shore really played in kind of this whole evolution of baseball, right?
Right.
So why don't you talk about that?
Right. Sure. Well, one of the again, as a historian and as somebody who kind of stumbled into this. I kind of got involved in trying to let people know about the Jersey Shore's role in the development of baseball in the late 19th century. Now, one of the big things I'll throw out there is, again, at Allaire, I got involved in baseball, actually as town ball, to interpret their 1830s interpretation of the way life was. But I actually was told by one of my fellow interpreters that the team that became the Brooklyn Dodgers had their spring training there in 1898.
Oh, cool.
So that's one of the things that happened around there. Some of you folks down in Ocean County probably know about the New York Giants having their spring training at what became Ocean County Park. Now, one of the things that, I try to get out there and I'm trying to let people know is that baseball, they know about the New York Giants in Lakewood during World War II, but they also were there in the late 1890s, and they were actually a big part of the development of Lakewood as a resort destination.
Cool.
Okay, so that's part of it too. There's also a lot of important baseball figures lived and did baseball related activities in Monmouth County. For example, Albert Spalding.
Okay.
So
cool. So I want to talk more about that. So let's hold that. So Albert Spalding, that name sounds familiar. Like he may have had something to do with some equipment of some kind.
Right.
I don't know. Not to be confused with Wilson, who ended up on an island.
Volleyball.
On an island talking to Tom Hanks. Okay. When we come back, more with Russ McIver, Monmouth Furnace Baseball Club. We're gonna also give him his magic wand. Maybe it'll be a magic bat. I don't know. I'm trying to get over the fact that you're pitching underhand, somebody's hitting the ball really hard, and you got to decide if you want to catch that thing with your bare hands, because I know what I'd be choosing. And it would be, I'll let the outfielder wait till it stops rolling. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin, back after this.
The news is next. Live from the WOBM Newsroom, the Town Square, New Jersey News Network, and Fox News Radio. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from Town Square Towers at the heart of the Jersey Shore. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Get up, get out, do something. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Hey, welcome back. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin, 6:33, Friday, September 2nd, 63 degrees, getting up to 80 today. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 News Talk Radio. Streaming live on the Radio Pup app and WOBMAM.com, 732-505-1160 to join the conversation. We're talking to Russ McIver, Monmouth Furnace Baseball Club. So we were talking about some of the famous folks that were here at the Jersey Shore relative to baseball. But there were also some famous kind of events. So you were talking about one in the break relative to a meeting in Red Bank.
Right. Yeah, one of the most infamous characters in late 19th century baseball was a guy named Andrew Friedman, who was the owner of the New York Giants. And back in the late 19th century, baseball was still kind of developing its business model, as it were. And they had something called syndicate baseball, which basically meant that some teams were really strong and some teams were really weak. But what Andrew Friedman pretty much wanted to do was kind of take it off for himself. So he hatched a plot to have a few of the other owners get together at his home in Tower Hill in Red Bank. And he had a couple of secret meetings up there to try to, develop a plan to finance the takeover of the National League, and basically, decide which teams would win and which teams would lose, and where the player. And that was kind of going on the side anyway, but they basically wanted to formalize it. Luckily for the future, there was one owner, the owner of the Pittsburgh team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, as a matter of fact, who basically didn't make a couple of the meetings and was kind of out of the loop. So when they had the league meeting where Friedman and his cronies were going to try to take over the league, they couldn't get the votes or the support to do it, so it pretty much all fell apart.
Right. Cool. And so we know. Look, we all know that what a large part New Jersey played in baseball. Mm-hmm. Right, because I think wasn't the Rutgers Princeton the first
Rutgers Princeton was the first football game.
Was it?
Yeah, but Princeton did have back in the club days. Princeton did have one of the stronger club teams.
I thought that on the first intercollegiate athletic event at Rutgers was a baseball game.
Okay.
On May 2nd, 1866.
Okay, well
that's where they started.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was so right around the time that we're talking about now. Let's talk for a second 1864, right? Mm-hmm. Because this is like when you say 1864 rules, mm-hmm. right? Just give me because we have like a couple of minutes. But why 1864?
There's a reason that we have the 1864 rules, and the primary one is the fact that when a ball's hit on the fly, a fielder has the option to catch it on one bounce for an out. So basically, as far as our interpretation or our inclusion of players, that gives us a chance to include more people. Because quite frankly, if it was strictly a fly ball game, it might be harder for some of the for lack of a better term, older or unskilled players to participate.
Right.
And it also adds obviously as a spectator, it adds a little uniqueness to the game. And honestly, when you on some of the fields we play on, a ball hitting off one bounce is to try to get that is just as exciting as trying to snag a fly ball in the gap. So
right, absolutely. And furthermore, I think, but Hoboken was that like the birthplace of baseball? Right?
Well, they claim to be the birthplace of the first game played under Alexander Cartwright's rules. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You going all Alexander Cartwright on us. All right.
Well, that's not yeah, but there's a whole nother story there, so.
Russ, well, so we have a whole other segment that we could do, but we'll do that another time. Russ, it's that time. We give you your magic wand, your pixie dust, your fairy dust, your ability to make an impact on the world and to make something change or happen. Excuse me. You've already used your magic wand once today because you said, God, if I could just have a cup of coffee, this would be really the greatest thing ever. And we were able to produce that for you. So now we're going to give you your second magic wand of the day. Russ McIver, Monmouth Furnace Baseball Club, computer guy, historian. What are you doing? Okay.
All right. Well, basically what I want to try to get across to everyone in Monmouth and Ocean County is the fact that the Monmouth Furnace baseball team exists, and we are a great way to enhance any type of historical site or historical event that you may have. We've helped a couple of organizations besides Alaire this year, and basically, if you reach out to us, we can talk about scheduling a game with one of our other rivals in the Mid-Atlantic Vintage Baseball League. Like I said, there's 30 teams. We are the team from this area, and again, we're interested in increasing the awareness of what went on in life in the late 19th century. One of the things I do as an aside is I have talks that I do to various historical societies and public organizations. As a matter of fact, in November I'll be speaking at Ocean County College.
Cool.
But that's all kind of ties into the team. So we're looking for sponsors. Always looking for sponsors. I had a sponsor help us out with our schedule. First choice heating and air conditioning. I picked a furnace to try to stay within the theme.
Right.
Going forward, if anyone's listening that's involved, I'm looking for one of these microbrewers to maybe step up and sponsor a program for us next year. But always looking for help, and our goal long term is to become a nonprofit organization, a nonprofit historical educational organization.
Very cool.
And go from there. So.
Well, I'm sure you will do it. Listen, it is really, it's a super cool thing, and you taught me something because I didn't, look, I think you said it actually in one of our breaks that people think of that kind of history, and they think of people getting killed, and they think of apple pie, right? And you don't think of all the other nuance, all the other things that are happening. And when you go to like some of these, when you see these like historical festivals and things like that, the sports part is really cool. And baseball has obviously the most rich history of any sport there is. So really cool what you're doing, and a lot of fun. And thank you for sharing some of it with us today.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Anywhere people could go if they want to learn more. You have a Facebook page.
We have the Facebook page, the Monmouth Furnace Facebook page. You can also email us at furnace@monmouth.com. And if you're interested in playing, we're always looking for players. And again, we're always looking for venues. We're always looking for places where we can help out other historical organizations or historical sites. So
cool. Very cool. Russ McIver, Monmouth Furnace Baseball Club, thanks again for joining us bright and early this morning.
Thank you.
Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Back after this.